Welcome back to Akira Kizzau, issue number 8, Nevermore. For nearly an hour, Sally and Bob examined buildings, looking for differences from one moment to the next. It was a slow process, but they were able to determine, after quite a bit of trial and error, that one building had been modified before the altercation. The repairs had left the modification off the newspaper building's roof, prompting the two of them to begin looking for the publisher of the Blogger Daily. So, Salia said into her wrist-mounted computer, Blogger has only been in operation for about a year. Any word on who the owner might be? The building had a strange pylon absent from the recent reconstruction. Blogger Daily was opened last year by a telepo named Minerva Talby, Yavka said. The two spent the first 10 minutes of their conversation going over how different Salia looked as an elf. It had taken every ounce of willpower not to yell at the young wizard. The paper seems to be nothing more than a gossip paper dishing out hypothetical pairings of people in public eye. She even ran a front-page article about the missed opportunity between you and Kizzau. Mind telling me where I can find this would-be journalist? Salia said, feeling her missing fur surge. She wondered if there was something to the phantom limb syndrome that might be at work. While her claws and fur were missing, she could swear nothing was missing. Salia, Yavka said. Another of her reporters also publishes stories about how there is an underground betting scenario on how and when the big proposal will be happening between you and the Blue Bard. So it seems the gossip is prone to whatever is juicy at the time. I want to talk to her. Bob, who had been talking to the only two staffers present at the gossip paper, walked over to the witness at the tail end of the conversation. Any progress? He asked. My friend was about to tell me where we can find the publisher of this wonderful piece of artistic print media. An audible sigh came over Salia's communicator. She's in Feywood, looking into the rumors that Don Quixote is about to propose to the captain of the watch. I'll let the elf know you're going to pass through the coffee shop as a router. Try not to pull her tail too hard. We're going to Feywood? Bob asked as Salia began walking down the street. I need to find out about the odd pylon that was set up and who put it there. This was all your idea. You coming? The wizard matched the elf's pace, but noted she was excessively tense. Of course, any chance to visit my hometown. You grew up in Feywood? My parents still give guided tours in the Atrium district, Bob said. They're both druids. Never understood why I opted to sink my talents into arcane magic instead of nature. The two continued in silence until they reached the door of the coffee shop. Salia opened the door to find the elf, owner of the transdimensional eatery. Salia? How did you recognize me? Salia asked, more than a little irritated by the encounter. I'd know those clenched fists anywhere, the elf said, putting on a coat. Also, your face has been all over the news. I'd love to stay and chat a bit, but I have a rare opportunity to have dinner with my husband away from the shop. I made sure the shop recalibrated to allow for your exit to be Feywood. Thank you, Salia said, anxious to be on her way, but she stopped in her tracks and held up a finger, signaling to the elf that she needed a moment. Did any of the troublemakers make their way through the shop earlier? The elf thought for a moment before responding. Actually, no. And I would remember Redcaps. I'm not certain the throwbacks of that lot would have found it welcoming here today, as Clint has his weekly session today in the back. I have always wanted to see that game, Bob said, eyeing the other end of the shop. I see him. For a game master, he seems armed to the teeth. Do his regulars cheat? Look, the elf said, I really need to get going. Clint always welcomes spectators, but he has low treatment for any distracting his players. It's all good, Salia said. I'm just going to ask him about a rumor and head to Feywood. Chat soon. Without waiting, the elf grabbed an umbrella and headed out of the shop to a location experiencing a torrential downpour. Salia walked directly over to the blood dwarf known as Clint. As she approached the table, he stood and walked over to her, holding up a hand. I can tell you got a question burning in your noggin. Out with it, so me and mine can get back to our brand. Is it true the Redcaps have another way to traverse about the city? Salia blurted out. She crossed her arms and waited for him to answer while tapping her foot on the ground quickly. Now, that would be something I have never discovered, Clint said, but you are the second one to be asking of it in the last hour or so. Who else? Bob asked. Some reporter for a gossip blog, Clint replied. Right before she went through the door to Feywood. Hasn't been long. Might be able to catch her. Thank you, Sally said, before storming back to the doors. Why would a gossip reporter care about what happened today? Bob asked, hurrying after her. Time to find out if this reporter is really after gossip or a bigger story, Sally said as she flung the door open to find a scrawny human in armor upon a mechanical horse. Or we could find a knight tilting at windmills again. And with that, I will see you all in the near future for the concluding part of issue number 8. And thank you for listening.